got to get better at. But to get a win like that tonight is a good thing for us.
Questions?
Saying that Texas Southern is an NCAA team, does this win over them mean that Georgia is?
Well, I think that's I'm going to let that one go because they're in a different league than we're in.
Yeah.
Okay? And when I make a comment like that, I'm making a comment out of respect. I'm not making a comment in a comparison stake. Okay? I'm giving respect to Texas Southern. So that's not a question that I think has got a lot of, that's a hypothetical. And I'm not real good with hypotheticals. Right now I'm just trying to get my team better. All right, than to worry about the NCAA tournament that's way down the road. So if I'm going to need to fix how I talk and not give credit to other teams, all right, then I'm fine doing that as well. But that's a hypothetical. So if you have another one, I'd be happy to answer, but that's not one I have an answer for. Do you have another one? Do you have another question? I'm serious. I mean, it's a hypothetical. Do you have another one about the game?
How do you think this team has improved? I know when you talked at the beginning of the season, you talked that you were focused in improving every single area. Is there a certain area that you could highlight that you think has been?
No, I think we just it's everything has got to get better, right? I mean, it's no different than any other point in time. I think there was some really good signs of cohesiveness defensively. There was good ball movement. 18 assists on 32 field goals is good, especially when we're not a huge assist team because there's so much driving to it. Thought the guys found some plays tonight inside of the game that were good, but there's no question it's a constant evaluation about how do we get better. There's not any one thing right now that I would look at and say this is our identity. We have this consistently, and we've got to build on that. This is the first time we've won after a win in a short season, and we've got to learn how to play with leads. We've got to learn how to have what they view as success and build on it and get better from it. And all those things become the fundamentals and the details of the game. There's a lot of room for improvement, and the good news is I think they buy into that. And really don't have much of a choice, but I mean, they buy into it, and we're pretty clear on what those things have got to be.
Coach, in one of my earlier conversations with Tyree, you talked about one of your messages to him was becoming a more aggressive player, not so much maybe in shot selection or anything like that, just becoming a more, kind of player who's going to really kind of make a statement.
Yeah, he's got to, we've got to keep making the game simple at times. We're trying to become a better ball screen team. And we want to get downhill in the sense without the ball screen, but we don't have a team full of guys that are very good at that yet. So we got to add more ball screens. So sometimes that aggressiveness is not just coming off the ball screen looking for your shot, it's looking for the roll. It's making that quick next pass. There were times tonight we did that. I thought, one thing you want with a guy like Tyree, I say this all the time about really good shooters, you want them to get lost in the game. Right, you want their movement to be so good that the defense has trouble keeping track of him, right? Because everybody knows he can shoot. And so we're trying to get him off the ball more. We're trying to get him the ball more when the game is moving, rather than just start it out in the point situation. And I think there were some times tonight he got some threes and got some open looks because he was really moving well without the ball. And the aggressive part is having his feet ready and his hands ready and getting his range a little bit better. So proud of the way he played.
How quickly did you identify Tyree as an explosive scorer, and what's your philosophy on a shot hierarchy? Is there such a thing in your offense?
No, it's shots that they can make that we take in practice. We'll manufacture some shots at the rim, but we're not going to manufacture many shots on the perimeter. We work too hard at shooting, and we feel like there's enough validity with the way we can move the ball in our spacing that we shouldn't have to do that. So I think we spend a lot of time looking at each shot. With him, it comes down to footwork some. I wouldn't say there's a hierarchy. I would say it becomes a comfort level that you have inside of a certain game, like tonight. And I thought he did a really good job of playing through fatigue because we played him some extended minutes. And certainly the threes help, but there's also the threat of the three. And we don't have a ton of guys that there's a ton of three threat to them right now. And it's getting better, but it's not where it's got to be. So we want to definitely move him. We want to get him off screens. We want to get him lost in the game, like I said. We want him looking for the ball. I think it creates a lot of openings for everybody else. And I think really in answer to your first question, I think early on when I got here, you could tell that there was a lot in his game that could improve. And especially with his decision-making and ball handling. And then with his range and being ready to shoot. And I didn't see that in the films early on. I saw it more as we got together and we started to have our work in the spring. in the summer. But I think there's a lot of room for upside with him. And what he's got to understand is the easier, like I said a bit ago, the easier he makes the game for everybody else, the more it's going to come back to him.
Coach, you mentioned the inconsistency and the ability to put together back-to-back wins tonight. How much do you account that to the team, learning your system and learning to play under your style?
Oh, I'd say there's a lot of it. I'd say there's a lot of it. And that's not in comparison's sake, because I don't have anything to compare it to. It makes no difference to me what they did in the past. What makes a difference to me is how we improve and get better. That does make a difference to me when the Willie Andersons and the Derek Floyds and the Marshall Wilsons and guys like that are in the building at night, informal players. That makes something to me, because those guys won, right? And those guys did things. Even though I wasn't here, I followed it from afar. So that makes a difference to me, but everything else becomes, we don't have to make the game harder than what it is. Right now, we make the game harder than what it is, and we're not alone in the country with that. I mean, you can turn on tapes, you turn on TV and see it all the time. But we don't do a great job of communicating. One of the things we really needed to be better at tonight was communicating in that zone in the second half, when they're away from us. And it's not getting the calls from the coaches. And we got to get better there. So that shouldn't just be me, that's just basketball, right? That shouldn't be because they're playing for a different coach, that should just be basketball. So you can come in one of two ways every day. You can come in and slow it down, and we're just going to focus on this, or we're just going to focus on that. Or we can come in here and we can challenge them to grow and start with the guys that get it the best on your team, and are the most aware, and have everybody try to catch up with that. And in my history of coaching, I've found a lot more success over a longer period of time by doing that, rather than by slowing it down. And that's where we got to get better. And that's where I lose patience. But that's where the assistant coaches have got to come in and help those guys, and the veterans got to come in and help those guys to understand, oh, this is what he's really saying. This is what he's trying to do. We're not trying to just get ready for December 3rd, all right? And really, as good as Arizona State is, we're not just trying to get ready for that. We're trying to make sure that we can build an identity. And that's the thing that takes time for a team to learn when you have a change.
Coach, just kind of goes back to consistency a little bit. How much, is that the thing you want to see from this team, whether it's within a game, first half to second half, or, like you said, this is the first time you've won after a win?
No, we're seeing bits and pieces of it. Don't get me wrong. I should, like I said on the radio, I should never go on the mic or go into a press conference till like 2 hours after a game. I used to do that. People get mad at me. Because I won't do that to your deadlines. But, because I got to take deep breaths sometimes. You want your team to continue to get better. I want them to be a reflection in the game of the way that they practice. We've had some very good practices.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's really, really important for us. Everybody's searching for consistency. There's not one team in the country that's not searching for that. Gonzaga may be doing it better than anybody right now. Kansas may be next. Mike Krzyzewski got it after the loss to Gonzaga. All of a sudden he turns around and gets it in the game against Indiana, right? I mean, it's everybody's searching for it. And the only way you get that, it's inside of a game and inside of a season, you got to stack successes. And that means possessions. We're big on 3 stops in a row, stops. We're big on 3 scores in a row, scores. How do you get that consistency in a game? Never a perfect game, but how do you keep building that, right? And inside of that, a whole bunch of things come into it. Well, at the end of the day, if you're not getting enough deflections, if you're not getting enough good looks at the rim, if you're not getting enough, if you're not winning the rebounding game, and if you're not getting the 50-50 balls at a 70% clip, you're not going to be as consistent, because there's so much that's up for grabs in the game. And so that's where consistency becomes, not perfection, but consistency. And that's where your identity comes in. And that's what we don't have yet, but that's what we got to keep building towards.
Coach, kind of an off-topic question, but I was kind of watching you on the sideline. Do you have like a Fitbit or Apple Watch?
I do. Oh, not tonight. I wore my red one, man. I went old school tonight. I usually have a Fitbit.
Okay, so
I never wore it before this year.
Okay, so who kind of inspired you to
get a
go that
Fitbit?
route? Yeah.
My wife bought it for me.
Okay.
Right? It was a gift. It was a gift a year ago. I'm already on my second one. But I didn't wear it tonight. I'm wearing my old Swatch right here, my $135 Swatch red band. Won a lot of games in this watch.
Have you counted? Have you looked after a game to see how many steps you take?
At times, but nah, not really. Not really. I think better when I'm moving around.
Okay.
Wouldn't look like it sometimes. So.
And then my overall question of all this, I guess. I mean, as you're pacing up and down and as you're bringing the energy to the team, I mean, what type of things does that show about the passion you have about?
Oh, I know. I'm watching the game now. You know, man, I'm seeing the game. So I mean, it's. I think you're just trying to read the game. You're trying to see the game the way it is, and as a coach, you just can't be in that moment, right? And it may look like you're just in that moment because you're trying to get through that play, you know, especially when you're moving around like me. But my mind is on what do we got to do with the next possession, or what have I got? How close is somebody getting to where I think he's tired? How much longer can I go with him before I make a sub? So there's a lot of things that go with that, but I enjoy the movement of it. I don't look at myself as an example of energy and passion. I think that's just who I am, right? And you want to be surrounded by that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But to me, I wouldn't do this if I didn't have a lot of fun, right? I have a lot of fun in the games. You dread, we were talking about this before the game, guys like Amir and Chad that have not been head coaches yet. They'll hear Joe and I say, like, man, I hate the games, right? No, you don't hate the games. I hate the build up to the game. Like, the day of the game is miserable till the game starts. Then it's fun, right? And assistant coach, he says, why do you say that? I said, you'll find out. I told Amir, I said, you will find out. You know, he and Chad will both find out someday why the games are so hard leading up to it. But once you get into the game, man, that's what you're coaching for. So why would you just be, to me, I'm not a stoic person, so I'm just kind of enjoy it. Anybody else?
I got one. Nice watch, by the way.
It's all right. It's been through the ringer. So.
Yeah. A guy like Nick, you know, when he can step out and shoot, I mean, he's 2 for 2 on threes tonight.
That was nice.
He was 2 for 2. And well, first off, do you feel like he's the most consistent player right now? And two, when he can step out and shoot the way he can, what does that, you know, how does that open
I
up
think
everything?
he's a great example. We showed a recruit in his family some film of Nick's improvement already, and they were people that are familiar with Georgia. And like when you see other people see it, I think that registers for you because we're with him every day. He's getting a lot better. He's getting a lot more consistent. I would say he's on a good pace for consistency, but the moment that he hits a place where he feels good about it is the moment that we can't let him. We're not doing a good job coaching. And there's a ton of talent in him. There's a ton of upside. There's a maturity that's growing in him. There's a seriousness that's growing in him, and it's got to continue to grow. And bottom line, he works very hard. And it's fun to, even because there's so many different things that he can do. And he's handling the ball an awful lot for anybody, but especially for a 7-foot, 19-year-old sophomore. And he's making decisions, and he's getting deflections, and he's active. But he works very, very hard at his shooting. And he's taking good rhythm threes. And I think that's what my teams that were so good shooting the three, especially at Indiana. There were very few times we went back and said that was a bad three. You know, we didn't take a good three. You know, we might have not had our feet right, we might not have had our follow-through right, we might not have had our balance right, okay? But there were very few times that we were taking bad threes. That's where your percentages. We're always going to be a percentage team more than we are a volume team. And I think Nick is moving good in that direction. He's getting good threes, and we got to continue to do that.
Nick combines with Derek to form a pretty formidable post. Even though you espouse a positionless style of offense, you don't worry about the pass, but do you see the fact that like the post is kind of maybe like making up for Yonte's departure? Yeah,
that's a hypothetical to me again. I'm a big Yonte fan, and he's killing it right now. But I didn't coach him, and I don't have any view of that. Right? I've watched old films, but I don't coach on the old films. And really, the unique thing is all three of them. I mean, all three of them are double figures today. That's why it's so important that Amanzi and Mike develop for us, that JoJo develops for us. Because I haven't coached three bigger guys like that a lot, right? And so but we train them as basketball players. I mean, you see it with Derek. I mean, he drove from beyond the three-point line. I mean, you see it with Nick, you see it with Ray. So, but at the end of the day, if you're playing three, that's a lot of minutes for three guys when you're playing those three like that. So the other guys have got to step in there. But with that being said, those three guys together are developing more and more synergy and playing well together. And I don't play them together all the time in practice because that's counterproductive, right? Then they got to go against each other. You want to put your best against your best in practice different times. And but those guys, those three together are really developing something, and we got to continue to do that. And the best way that will happen is for them to become even better basketball players away from the rim. so that they get that much better around the basket.
Any more questions?
All right,
Coach.
thank you, thank you.